What made you want to dive into Diddy's story?
Um, I mean, to be honest, I didn't really want to dive into his story at all because it definitely felt like, as a filmmaker, especially in a nonfiction space, doing a project about Diddy felt like I could conceivably end up just in a pile of other projects. And we really try to avoid that as much as we can. And so it seemed like there was going to be so much, and there already was so much media about this. And oftentimes I'm going out of my way to try to find, the news stories, the unexpected, right? And so, news was really doing, I think, a good job of handling current events, of handling, really chasing the information, right, as they do so well. And so for me, what ultimately happened was I was able to start talking to Ariel Mitchell, who's an attorney for a number of victims or alleged victims of Diddy. And so once I started talking to her and getting a little bit of a better understanding of their stories, I started to go, okay, nothing's really come out that's long form yet. Should we be talking to networks about something that's a bit more victim forward and really give some of these folks, because I think there's so many, a platform if they're willing, a platform to kind of share their story.
We're
Him
gonna we're
becoming
gonna
Puff,
get
them becoming Diddy. It doesn't just happen.
yeah, yeah, we're gonna get to that. And we're gonna come back to the victims. But I want to go into the inner circle because you talk to a lot of people who work with Diddy. So let's talk about some of these
Yeah.
folks in the inner circle. Let's go through some of these names.
Well, I don't have the entire list in front of me, but you can see from the doc, we've got Tim Patterson, childhood friend. We've got Gene, who is his bodyguard for many years. We've got Sarah Stokes. We've got two of his friends. We have an anonymous voice on camera. I think we have three different victims, one of them silhouetted. Um, we've got, the former makeup artist. And we also got Alby Shore, which was a pretty significant get.
Let's talk about Alby Shore. Alby Shore. So I will just tell you, I followed this story in and out. I've read all the lawsuits. I think we're up to about 30. Alby Shore makes some really, really shocking claims. We know that Alby Shore was hospitalized. He was in hospice care. Um, did what Alby Shore say shock you?
He has spoken out to some extent, right? Or he has made a lot of these implications in the past. I think what probably is a bit more revealing and shocking is when you see it on camera as opposed to on social media, and when you see it in context of this larger story and you see his hesitation. I think you start to feel like, oh, there really is more to this story. And he is actually being very careful about what he feels ready to say. Like, you definitely get the sense that there's an organic sort of emotional process. Something's happening there where he's really working through these feelings, because this is not just somebody who, worked for Diddy or kind of knew Diddy. Or, I mean, this is a guy who, ultimately lost his wife to Diddy, right? And I'm not saying lost in that way. I'm saying but the fact is that he did ultimately end up with Kim Porter, and also to some extent with Alby Shore's son. And so I think as we're given that context and you start to understand that, you realize the stakes are very high for Alby Shore, and um, the fact of the matter is he was part of this group of people and he's the only one alive. So we just sort of want to, I think it was about putting that out there, presenting those facts and
Mhm.
letting people kind of make up their own minds. But yeah, so I don't think there was like one specific, aha moment or holy shit moment of, oh my God, like there's this huge new piece of bombshell information. I think most the things that he either said or implied have kind of been out there. I do think, though, it's the coming together of the pieces that probably is the most revealing.
They have been out there, but to hear Albie Shore say on camera that there was a diary that Kim
Hmm.
Porter was keeping. To me, that was surprising to hear him say that. How do you respond to that?
Um, I think it's really hard to say because what does that really mean, right? Does that mean that she was writing a book? Does that mean she was keeping notes on a computer? Does that mean she jotted some things down on a napkin? Does it mean that, she told a friend? I don't, I think the word diary feels very kind of Hollywood to me in a way, right? Like a diary is like, ooh, I have my secrets. I don't really know. I don't know the extent of that. What I think is interesting about that statement is the fact of the matter is she had something clearly to say, and she could have, if she was alive, she could provide a lot more context, and also obviously, we get to the bottom of this and tell us the truth. But I think seeing all the points of view together, including Gene, about Kim Porter from the outside looking in into that circle, clearly this was a woman who, um, in some cases was under duress, and in other cases was, I think, her trying to protect him was a very interesting, I think, statement.
Mhm.
And that's something that I don't know that most of us think about or maybe realize about someone like her in that situation, and what kind of courage she probably had and what she had to deal with. Um, it's
Right.
nice to see that piece of the story kind of come alive a little bit and treat her like a little more multidimensional. I think that's
Mhm.
interesting. Um, so I don't know if that answers your question.
It kind of does. One last question. Sarah Rivers from Making the Band. This was the first I heard that she was assaulted. Um, Tell us about the process of interviewing her. What was that like?
Well, I think with all these victims, the idea was to, like I said, give them the platform. Obviously, we're interviewing them because we believe that they feel that they're ready to share something. We don't. It's not like we're doing these intense pre-interviews though to know exactly what they're going to say. And so we sort of just kind of roll the dice and go, let's have a casual conversation and see where this goes. I don't know that she was expecting necessarily to share, and I think you get this sense when you see her interview in the film. I don't know that she was expecting necessarily to share as much as she did. And I think it kind of almost took her off guard as well. And so I hope it's cathartic for her and all that. But it was definitely, yeah, it was really hard for her, understandably, and I'll be really curious to see how she reacts to the final product.
All right, Ari Mark, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.